Today, we will be talking about alcohol-associated hepatitis, or Alc Hep for short. Let's talk first about diagnosis. How do you diagnose Alc Hep, and why is this important? Diagnosis is usually made by clinical history and lab values, so there is no single test that can confirm the diagnosis of alcohol-associated hepatitis. A history might include a minimum of 10 years of drinking, with an increase over the last 3 to 6 months, and symptoms of anorexia, malaise, and jaundice. We may also see symptoms of generalized decompensation from chronic liver disease, such as worsening ascites, GI bleed, and hepatic encephalopathy. What are the lab values you may see in Alc Hep? You may see moderately elevated AST and ALT with an AST to ALT ratio greater than 1.5 to 2, but typically less than 3, and a total bili of over 3, which is required for the diagnosis. Alright, let's move on. Why can the presentation of Alc Hep be delayed up to 8 weeks from the last drink? Well, alcohol-associated hepatitis is a multifactorial reaction that is actually immune-mediated. First, there is an initial insult to the liver by alcohol, which leads to the recruitment of inflammatory cells. It disrupts the gut barrier, leading to bacterial translocation and inflammation. Ultimately, this is why the symptoms are delayed from heavy drinking to presentation. Next, let's talk about risk factors. Who is more likely to get alcohol-associated hepatitis? Those who are at increased risk of Alc Hep include biological females because of the lower amounts of gastric alcohol dehydrogenase, patients who smoke, those with metabolic syndrome, and patients with a history of gastric bypass. There's also a genetic component to the disease too. When working up patients with symptoms that seem like alcohol-associated hepatitis, what else might we think about ordering or think about in our differential diagnosis? We should be thinking about infection, so be sure to send off your hepatitis serologies. Additionally, we should also consider medications, so send a serum acetaminophen level. And finally, biliary obstruction should also be on our differential. There are far more differentials to include, but always come back to the patient demographics and recent medications they've taken. The most important thing to remember in caring for these patients is that they are quite prone to infections, and a large portion die from infection. So you don't want to forget to order blood cultures, urine cultures, and a chest x-ray. In Alc Hep specifically, you should also send off peritoneal fluid studies, and don't forget the physical exam. Be sure to look inside their mouths, look at their sacrums, IV sites, or other possible sources of infection. Infection is also important to rule out before considering another treatment option, steroids. When do we use steroids in Alc Hep? Let's first talk about risk stratification. The MELD score and Maddrey discriminant function are two scoring methods to risk stratify those with alcohol-associated hepatitis. For mild hepatitis, this can be treated conservatively, so we're talking about those with a MELD less than 20 or Maddrey less than 32. However, for those who have a MELD over 20 or Maddrey over 32, consider treatment with steroids, which would be a 28-day course followed by a taper. A few key points to remember with steroids. 1. There's no urgency to starting steroids, so you don't have to rush to start them as soon as you admit your patient. 2. Make sure you rule out infection first before you start steroids. And finally, 3. There's no long-term mortality benefit to steroids. You may find that these are used as a last resort, and each hepatologist has a different approach in when they reach for steroids. Next, what are the interventions most likely to improve mortality for alcohol-associated hepatitis? These include alcohol cessation and nutrition. After an episode of alcohol-associated hepatitis, abstinence from alcohol positively impacts long-term survival. It can reduce mortality risk by close to 50%. That's huge. During hospitalization is a good opportunity to discuss abstinence. In fact, a recent study of 35,000 patients with alcohol-associated liver disease found that less than 2% were started medical therapy for alcohol use disorder. Correcting nutritional deficiencies is also important. Some studies have shown that 100% of patients with alcohol-associated liver disease have some form of malnutrition. Some general guidelines are that nutrition should be provided orally if possible, or enterally if they're not meeting their caloric needs. We should supplement their diet with thiamine, folate, and a multivitamin. In certain cases, vitamin K may be needed as well. Consider avoiding maintenance fluid to prevent fluid retention, and in all of these patients, make sure to monitor for refeeding. Overall, we should be targeting 30 calories per kilogram per day with 1 to 1.5 milligrams per kilogram of protein. Okay, we covered a lot here, but we hope you learned some things about alcohol-associated hepatitis. If you want to learn more, listen to our full episode with the awesome guest, Dr. Elliot Taper, to really cement those clinical pearls. Thank you.